Hello and welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood, and today my friend Natalie Howell is with me. Hello, Natalie.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here because we want to talk about your experiences in Cambodia recently. Now, tell me why you went to Cambodia.
October 2018, yes, my family and we went to faith camp. And while I was there, the need to go was great. Like, God told me I need to stop running. And I remember they were playing Mission Trick that Sabbath. And, God just said, look, you want your daughter to go to the mission field, but you're not willing to go. And so what if when you're ready for her to go, she doesn't want to go? It'll be because of you. And so I remember I jumped out the seat and I ran to John. I was like, here I am. Tell me where you want me to go. And he introduced me to Miranda.
Okay.
And so, so that's
And
how
so
Cambodia.
then Cambodia came in.
Yes.
Now, what do you mean by running?
Well, in 2014, he called us to go to the mission field. And a couple opportunities presented itself. And I was like, nah, no, I'm not ready to go. Or, one thing after the other. And so I realized that moment that I was running. And so, it's our nature to run when we have to do something different. That's outside of our comfort zone. It's easier to run than face it. So yes, I ran for 4 years.
Okay. So when you went to Cambodia, your husband went with you and then your two daughters.
Yes.
Okay. Did anyone else join you on this trip?
Yes. 3 young people.
Okay.
2 young ladies and a young man.
Okay.
And so I had 5 teenagers ranging from 14 to 18.
Okay. Wow. I bet that brought up some challenges and some interpersonal stuff.
It did. It was character
Teenagers,
building. Yes. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was a good experience. They learned so many things. How to deal with each other, how to resolve conflicts. I took the more hands-off approach because oftentimes teenagers and their drama can bring you down. So I try to let them work it out within themselves. And, it was a blessing. It was really a blessing having them with us.
Okay. So what was the main purpose of you going?
Well, we're going to see the project that we were going to be involved in.
Okay. And what is that project?
So we're trying to build a school in Cambodia, in Battambang, in one of the major cities there. And so they do not have an Adventist school in that city. And so oftentimes the schools there are 6 days a week. And so if you're a 7-day Adventist, then you have to make an option. Do I want to go to church or do I want to get an education?
Because the 6 days are including Saturday, not Sunday.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so most make the choices to go on Saturday. And so we wanted to provide for them an opportunity where they actually have an option where they can get your education while still honoring God.
Right. So, wow. That's a hard choice for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend being at such a young age being faced with that choice.
Yeah, that's hard. Well, I know you've shared with me some of the things that you started seeing and learning when you got to Cambodia. One of the things was like in the market, you started seeing all these different foods that you would never see in a market here.
Not at all.
Like,
Snakes.
I know your favorite, live snakes.
I know. Going to the market was really different. Nothing really prepares you for it. Nothing. Even all the stories you hear. I remember our first day at the market, your sense of smell is like on overdrive. Like you're trying really hard not to throw up. Because the smell, you have beef, chicken, everything is there. And it's not like here where you have things in the fridge. Everything is open in the open. There's no ice. Yeah, there's no ice there. It's just there. And so you just go pick what you want. And so you're smelling all these things and it's different from what you're accustomed to. When you go to the grocery store, you don't smell anything here. And so I remember that first time we were there, we were all struggling. And, the kids, they had their faces covered and they're like, I'm going to throw up and all these different things. And after we got back home, I had to tell them, we have to be careful how we act out there. We're trying to witness to them, and we don't want to have our faces turned up and then turn around and tell them Jesus loved them. They're not gonna, so even though we're struggling, we have to put aside our personal feelings. And, we speak most with our face than with the words out of our mouth. And so,
especially when it's cross-cultural.
Exactly. And so learning to not show it on your face, I struggled. There are times I was in the market and I saw a snake and I jump in screaming like, and I had to take a deep breath because they stared at you, and so self-control.
Yeah.
But we worked through it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but every time we went, we got a little better. I mean, even up until when we were leaving, I still struggled. There are times when I went in there and I was like, Lord, please help me,
because it's so different from what we're used to, and the smells and the sights and the sounds, and, it can be very overwhelming.
Yes.
So I also want you to share a little bit about how, when we go as a missionary, we think, okay, we're having a change of address. We're going to have this whole new life. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to be a missionary, all this kinds of stuff. But what's the reality? What really happens when you change your address like that?
All you did was change your address. You bring your same butched up character with you.
You take your history. You take your baggage.
Your baggage. Yeah. And so when you go over there, it's different because here you're in a Christian country. We have this like fakeness. We can hide stuff and we can pretend things don't, you know how we do. But then you're there and you're like really on Satan's territory. And if you're not spiritually grounded here, he gonna bust you wide open there. And, I saw myself struggling in so many areas as I was there and realized, and all I did was just change address. I didn't become a new person. Whatever temperament I had here, it was there. I didn't come back with these glamour stories of winning people. I came back battered. I think we have like this expectation that when you become a missionary, all of a sudden, like almost like you've arrived or you have a new status now.
There's some sort of sainthood or instant glorification or something.
Absolutely. And I remember that, I was questioning myself, like, does other people feel this way? And I was kind of bitter and angry about it. Like, am I the only one that's struggling? Because you hear all these great stories. You hear all these feel good things. And why am I not feeling good? Why am I struggling so much? The culture shock, all these things play into you being there. You're adjusting to the culture. You're adjusting to the climate. You're adjusting to 5 teenagers in your house. You're adjusting to the students that we have to work with. And, so you find yourself, you just giving, and you just feel broken, because I don't know, I just felt drained.
You expected something of yourself and of the experience that wasn't reality.
Absolutely.
And whatever was going on in your relationships with your husband and your own children, they were still there when you went over there. So, so many times I think we think that there's some instant change thing that happens to us on the plane on the way over or something, and suddenly we're this great, strong person and have the perfect spiritual walk and everything, but we're still human.
Absolutely.
We still need God every moment.
Yes. And I think, what didn't help is that from the moment we decided to go into the field, it was like one thing after the other. After another started happening, And so even up until the night we were flying out, I was still putting out battles. There were still things that was just popping up. And, so I went there broken or battered or bruised. You went there in a deficit. And then there's no magic wand that you just wave and you just get better. And so it was really an eye-opening experience for me.
So you went with certain expectations and you found out that God is there with you. I mean, he was there.
He was there.
But it was not easy.
It wasn't easy at all.
Now, talking about expectations, you had seen videos, you'd seen lots of pictures of the
yes.
area, and so you kind of had an idea of what to expect, but then no.
Nothing beats reality. You know?
It was still totally different.
It was totally different. Nothing, I mean, you're overly stimulated. You know, the crowd,
smelling
the smelling, the poverty, the trash, you know, the scene, hopelessness all around you. I don't know if you can really capture that in pictures.
Really.
You know, when you look all around you and you're seeing idols. That's in a whole, you know, I mean, I see those things, you read about it in the Bible, not realizing
that it's real.
It's real today. You know, you read about Abraham, and this is what, 4,000 years later?
Yeah.
And we still have the same things. And, you know, I realize that you really have to be grounded in God. If you're not grounded here, it's going to be hard to be grounded there.
Now, talking about the different religion. So here, you know, like you said, it's a Christ country. It's a Christian country here, but over there, did you see a difference?
I think what I saw was, you know, here, you know, when the weekend comes, you know, Sunday, you see people go to church. Sabbath, you see people going to church. There, I probably can count on one hand how many churches I saw in the 5 months I was there. You don't have a weekend. There is no separation.
They just work every day.
They just work every day of the week. You know, I mean, like the banks in some of those places, they'll open on Sabbath. They're closed on Sundays, but outside of that, everything. So you can't tell the difference. Everything just continue just going. Life just go from one day to the next. And so you see people are tired. You know, the main religion over there is Buddhism. But there's also animus, spirit worshiping. And so, you know, that's totally out of our realm. I mean, and here we don't even talk about demons. You know, that's like a taboo.
Yeah, we don't, well, we don't think they're real.
We don't, exactly.
For one thing.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't seen them like they have.
Absolutely. We just see it in different forms and don't recognize that's what it is. You know what I mean? We kind of
call it mental illness, or we call it, you know,
a variety of stuff, but what it is.
Now, I know another thing you mentioned to me in the past is that you started seeing, like, looking for the reasons why they did some of the things that are so different. And one thing that really brought that to your mind was the green fruit. Yeah. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. I was struggling because, you know, you're in this tropical place. They have endless amount of fruits. And, you know, I grew up in the tropics, so I'm accustomed to that. So I was really happy. And so you go and you see them eating green stuff. And some of the green is like, it's not even fully developed. Like it's nowhere close to being ripe. And so, you know, I sat there and like, why would someone eat something so young? There's like literally no nutritional value in that. And I remember talking with one person before, and they were saying how during the war that they had to go out early. You know, that early bird catches the most worms. So you go out there and whatever you find, that's what you eat.
Foraging in the jungle.
In the jungle.
Yeah.
So you grab, because if you don't grab, somebody else is going to come and eat it.
And if you're late going out,
you're not going to get nothing at all. And so I realized that even though the war has ended 21 years ago, that mentality is still there. It's so ingrained, and it's so a part of their life that even though they don't have to do it, they still do it.
Yeah. So when we look at that and we try to learn why they do what they're doing, it makes it a lot easier for us not to say, well, they're wrong.
Exactly.
Or my way's right.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right. Oftentimes from the outside, it's easy to look and pass judgment or condemnation as to why people do the things they do. And so for me, it was eye-opening that in order to figure out why somebody is doing what they're doing, we need to understand the culture or the origins, or look beyond the surface.
Right, the worldview.
The worldview of what's going on, and not just saying, well, you know, that's wrong and you shouldn't do it. You know, because it's easy for us to turn up our nose like they're wrong and we're right.
Yeah,
How about we're both right?
We're very black and white with stuff.
Exactly.
We like to be right, or it's either right or wrong. We like it that way, but but it's not always that way with everything.
Exactly. And one of the things I realize is that I don't know what it's like to grow up so impoverished. I don't know what it's like to grow up in a war-torn country or zone. And so because I don't understand that, it's easy when they do something to say, why did you do that? And realizing I need to place myself in their shoe, what it must have been like losing families and on the run or living in such poverty. Like, how do you even rise above that? The mental oppression, not only physical, but the mental oppression during that period of time. And so once we try to understand their past, then we'll understand their past affects the present and it also affects their future. And that's where we can come in to help guide them to have a different future and not spend time finding faults with why they do what they do, And if we truly are Christians, and if we truly believe that Jesus is love and we want to share that, we cannot go over there with that attitude of, I'm here and you're there. Because truthfully, we will not make it to heaven if that's our attitude, or if that's my attitude, And so it's difficult because sometimes, things happen and it's frustrating. But you have to ask God to help you. Help me to see them the way you see me. It's easy to say, I don't want to do this. Let me go somewhere where I fit in, where I don't stand out. And recognizing that we have to go where God calls us.
Okay, so the young people that are learning to be teachers right now, they were all born after the war.
Correct.
But the other people that were helping, the older young people that were helping you.
To the people that we were working with, they were alive during that period of time. And I sat down and talked with one of them, and he shared what his family went through, and he lost his mom, he lost his brother during that time. His brother was murdered. His mom, I think she ended up getting sick. His family was on the run. They owed money. And so they took him and his brother.
The people they owed money to.
Yeah. And so they had to work to pay off the debt.
Wow.
And so they had to, they were kids. They were under 10. And so, foraging to find food and, just different things. Like, I cannot even begin to understand at all. I can't even pretend I understand. I was just sitting there just so dumbfounded.
That people could survive something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the beauty about him was that after all of that, he found God. And now he's working full-time for Jesus. Awesome. He became a pastor,
Nice.
And so you're able to see, he's able to look at his life before and now see what God has done.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
That's really awesome.
Absolutely.
So when you look at them and you look at the history that they have and you think about sharing Jesus with them and sharing heaven with them, is that a hard thing to try to share with them what heaven is going to be like when they've gone through all this evil?
Truthfully, I haven't tried.
And because you don't speak the language.
I don't speak the language. During that time, I actually realized the importance of learning the language. So our words that we have here, there's not a word over there for it.
So you're trying to explain something that there's no
explanation for.
Wow. Yeah, we saw that in Thailand. It's like there's no word, there's no concept for salvation or for even the word saved. It's like saved from what? Save
from an
save what? Save, It's just they don't have that concept at all.
Yeah.
And so the idea of a savior,
complete foreign.
Like, what is that? So you have to figure out how to explain it in a language they can understand.
Absolutely.
Using words that they have and concepts that they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a challenge.
It is. But with God, all things are possible.
That's true. So when you went to Cambodia and you started working with these young people, now we're trying to build a boarding academy, but you were working with young people already, but we don't have a school. So what were you doing? What were these young people there for? What was going on in the project at that point in time?
Okay, so we had some young ladies that were in college.
Okay.
And so when we got there, one of the things we started doing was teaching them English.
Okay.
We were teaching them English. So every day we would go there and spend like an hour or a little bit more than an hour teaching them English. And then in return, they would help us to learn the language, which is Khmer. And so there were 5 of them, and there was 5 young people from my team. So I paired them up.
Oh,
and
nice.
so, they would teach them words. So we would put papers around the house. That's a door, that's a chair, and
Okay.
stuff like that. Everyday things that they were using, going through the phonograms and stuff like that. So that's what we were doing. And then we started doing worship together.
Okay.
And one evening a week, on Wednesday evening, we started going through the book Education. And so as we went through it, we had somebody there that translated to their language for them. And we had these study guides that we were going through with them, just slowly making sure they understand the importance of not just education, but true education. How does God desire us to be educated and to educate others?
Okay. So I know that education is one thing that really suffered because of the war, because their goal was to kill all the intellectuals, everybody that had a pen, everybody that wore glasses. And so what have you seen as far as their educational system? I mean, these young ladies are in college. What have you seen as far as the educational system? Is it suffering? Has it suffered, do you think, from having the war kill off?
Yeah,
so many of
absolutely. I see the lack or the missing link in the education system. So it's like, this is your work, memorize it, and pass. So they're not really, for example, it's probably better to give an example. I was helping one of the young ladies with some questions that she had to answer. And so when I gave her the answer, the teacher marked it wrong. And so I told her, no, he's wrong, because this is what it's saying. And so when she spoke to him and said, based on the question you asked, the word meaning, this is what it means, he shut her down, and that it is wrong, and this is how it's going to stay.
Wow. So there are huge challenges in the area of education still.
Yes, there is. And, when you look, Buddhism is taught, and that's a class they have to take. They cannot escape it. And so that's why it's important for us to teach them what true education is. And not only teach them, but to show them what it looks like. So that when the school starts, they'll be able to transition and lead them to God.
Right. So the purpose of these young ladies going through college right now is to become teachers for the school.
Correct.
Okay.
We want to give back to the community. And so oftentimes as missionaries, when we go there, we teach them the Western way. And so when they're finished, they will try to move on to somewhere else. Wherein if you educate them within their environment, within their community, then, they'll want to stay around and help others.
That makes a lot of sense. You've got to reach people in their heart language. That's the most effective sharing of anything, especially the gospel.
Absolutely.
Is when they can hear it and they can read it in a language that they've known since birth.
Absolutely. That's the first angel's message.
Yeah.
Every nation, kindred, tongue, and people.
Right. So when you went as a missionary, you saw that, well, you shared a quote with me, that God didn't send you to the mission field to save others. He sent you to the mission field to save you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Because, like we were saying earlier, all we did is change address, and so for me personally, while I was there, I saw so many defectiveness in me.
That's humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we have this idea that I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to tell them about Jesus and I'm going to win souls for kingdom and, all these different things. And I had to sit back and realize, no, he brought me here to show me who I truly am.
Ooh.
That I am nothing and I don't know nothing. And I am in need of him.
So you had to look at your purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And recognize how much I need him. And pray that as I'm clinging to him, that he will use me to save others. But my first purpose, his first purpose for me is to save me. Because it's only as you do, you realize that you're nothing. And so oftentimes we're complacent here. Very complacent here. You know, you go there and you really realize that I don't have a church to hide behind. I don't have friends to hide behind.
I need Jesus.
I need Jesus.
Wow. Well, that's powerful.
It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Humbling. You know, because, you know, sometimes we like to think that we're at a certain level. You know, we like to think that.
And we look down at other people from our high position of greatness.
Absolutely. And you go to the mission field with that same attitude. And he's like, no, you're all on the same playing field. We're all in need of a savior. We're all dying. He said, look, you're dying. Come to me and live.
Wow.
So the same message for them is for me. It's not a separate message. It's one. So, you know, we always talk about leading others to Christ, and we forget ourselves because we think we already have him.
Wow. That's really powerful. Just to think about how much we need him.
Absolutely. And when you recognize that, you're not quick to pass judgment. You're not quick to look down on others because you realize we're all in the same playing field.
We all need him.
We all need him.
Wow. Well, that's powerful and beautiful. And I want to thank you so much for sharing so openly with me today and with our viewers.
Thank you.
It's been a privilege.
Thank you. Likewise.
I would like to invite you to pray for the Howell family, that they can very soon return to Cambodia and to the project there. If you would like more information, please contact us at Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or visit our website at jesusforasia.org. May God richly bless you until we see you next time on Jesus for Asia Now.